And now your host of Where's My Parachute? It's Steve Lemieux.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Hey.
I have, of course, Matt Stoker in the box with me today.
How's it going, Steve?
I didn't mention you until the very end last time, so I figured I'd be generous. And
That's all right. I'm a wallflower. I just hang here and do what I'm told.
I need to just interview you sometime. Through the
I'm
glass,
open for
too.
it. Yeah. No reason to mess up the chemistry we have right now.
Absolutely. Perfect.
In separate rooms.
There you go. Cool. I have Lanier Selene. Sorry, go.
You're fired.
God.
Lanier Skalniak.
Skalniak.
Of course.
God, I suck.
I heard you going over it before the show, too.
Oh, such a loser. I practiced, and she works with me. It's just a tough name. I'm sorry. Skalniak. I'm going to emblazon it in my brain. And Mr. Dave Matthews.
Sorry, that's Dave Matthews.
I'm the one that's embarrassed here. Am I red? A little bit?
Like a tomato.
All right, Lemurray.
Hey. Dave Matthews is the founder, CEO, head chief of a lot of stuff, but most importantly right now, Revtech. Yes. So tell us about Revtech.
Revtech is cool. It puts together all my favorite parts of my hobbies in life, but I really help budding entrepreneurs get access to mentorship, capital, and customers, and specifically entrepreneurs that are innovating in the retail space.
Awesome. So this is a good show for you to be on, because this show goes out to folks that are entrepreneurs currently, thinking about it and trying to decide whether they want to take that leap.
Nice.
You know, those kind of guys that are looking to see what's their next step. So you're a perfect candidate to talk about that. And you have a mentorship program that I know you guys have monthly breakfasts. You have happy hours, which are always the favorite, and other like training and different things like that. So how many mentors do you guys have?
We have about 120 now.
Really? Wow.
And yeah, we do a ton of events. It's caffeine in the morning and alcohol in the afternoon and evening.
Or Topo Chico.
Or Topo, in yours truly case.
Dave Matthews is a big Topo Chico drinker at 5:30 on.
Love it. But today it's all about Ozarka.
There you go. And Ozarka is sponsoring us today with $20,000 donation back to our show, so we appreciate that.
God, ring the bell.
Yeah. Also,
this is a moneymaker.
Also, Fuel City is also a big sponsor of ours today. Tell me about your hat.
My hat I got in Spain because I went to my sister-in-law's wedding there in June, and I burned very easily. So I bought this silly hat, and I paraded all around the shores of Spain in it for a week.
Now, I heard a rumor that your sister-in-law was married to someone who has a fairly well-known brother. Is that true? True or false?
That is quite true.
Are you able to say that on air?
Oh, it's a mystery. Well, it would be somebody that's into space, payments,
okay, Lanier,
and electrified cars.
Lanier?
What would that be?
Who would that be? Electric cars, space, and payments.
NASA.
Close.
I think he just surpassed NASA. I think NASA just outsourced the whole thing to him now.
Would that be
Elon Musk?
Hey, ding, 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 ding.
Well played. Yes.
Cool.
My sister-in-law's new brother-in-law is Elon Musk. So that shows a very close connection with me, right?
Well,
just incredible.
I'm just thinking the wedding, like you guys had, like it was a buffet with like the grilled chicken breast and some rice.
Yeah, it was a nice Hilton buffet.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, good. Did you get to visit with Mr. Elon?
I said hello on the wait line for the restroom.
Beautiful.
That was about it.
That's cool. Hey, man.
Yeah.
that's not even 3 degrees of separation. That's direct contact. So good stuff.
Spot on.
Tell us about, so I want to talk about your journey, but I do want to talk a little bit more about Revtech because I think it's such just an important point with this show. So 120 mentors, they are obviously entrepreneurs, business owners, people that specialize in certain things that the companies that you help accelerate or incubate are involved in, those kind of things, right? So that's who the mentors are.
Mostly they're recovering retail executives.
Okay.
And I like recovering retail execs better than current because they actually have time to come mentor an entrepreneur.
Sure.
Current retail execs are just, it's hard to get them to return a call.
And some of the current retail execs will be rehabilitated retail execs soon. Retired.
The way it's going, it's counterintuitive. The worse retail goes, the better my mentor group gets.
There you go, man. That's right. Yeah, you get the mentors. And it is interesting, the retail. So your company, do you call it an accelerator?
We've kind of grown our capital base, so we're more of a micro VC fund now.
Okay,
but we started as a 12-week accelerator program.
Okay, so kind of venture capital. I know you are venture capital, but I mean the Revtech piece is the quote nonprofit. That's the piece that helps elevate the company. So, can you tell us about some of the so mostly retail and technology, right? That's the Revtech.
Yeah. Would it help to give an example of like a mentor and an entrepreneur and how that chemistry
100%
results in growth?
Yes.
So I met a young fellow that came out of Apple Computer and helped design, the iPhone and iPad and all that stuff. And he started a company that measured traffic analytics in retail stores called Door Technology out in San Francisco. But he came to Dallas. And why did he come to Dallas? Because I connected him with all his early seed capital as he got going. And I connected him with a lead mentor who had been the CFO at Pier 1 Imports for over 20 years.
Okay.
Kerry Turner. And Kerry had just retired out of Pier 1 Imports. He was bored, looking for stuff to do. And this was perfect for him because he actually led the effort to do store traffic analytic measurement at Pier 1 stores, and he knew all about it. And he saw how powerful this solution was. So he signed up and became lead mentor. We raised more money, and this young fella, he has now raised $12 million of venture capital. He's got about 30 people on his team, split between San Francisco and North Carolina, and he is just blowing and going. He got his product in 1,000 stores faster than any company I've ever backed.
Wow! And
a lot of that is because of that mentorship piece.
Sure. So a lot of the mentorship piece. So I'm a mentor as well with you, but also with through EO and through UTD and some other programs. But so a lot of that mentor program is my knowledge base and being able to give that to someone, or talk about my certain things that I've done in my business career that was a complete failure. And hey, don't do it this way because I already tried it that way. But also it's connections, right? I mean, who do I know that can take that person to the next step or help them with a sale or help them with another introduction, those kind of things. I'm assuming that's the case.
That's the case. And for me personally, I discovered that doing a little bit of capital and a lot of mentorship was more sustainable than doing a lot of capital and a little mentorship.
There you go. Yeah, cool. And then do those mentors, do you ever have a case where a mentor comes on as like a executive in that company or has a ownership piece because of their mentor role, or is it strictly like, hey, we're going to do a 1-year program, here's when we're going to meet, here's what I'm going to do to help you out, and then once we're done with that, maybe we stay in touch, but there's no it doesn't get like incestuous, if you will, or whatever?
It's more the latter.
Yeah.
These aren't people looking to come run a startup. These are people that enjoy the opportunity to give back and to share their experience and to help, somebody early in their career by just leveraging their experience, knowledge, and connections. So I'd say it typically will be an advisory role where they may or may not earn some equity as an advisor to the company, but it's almost never an operating role like coming in or taking over the CEO role.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because we're looking for entrepreneurs that want to do that themselves.
Right. Absolutely. And those guys probably don't want to do it anymore anyways. It's like once they've gotten to that level, you don't want to get back in and operate. You want to, you're kind of like.
That's right. It would interfere with beach time.
Beach
and
time,
golf time.
and sleep. We were talking about that earlier in the office. It's like, man, I can't wait to sleep someday. It'll be fun. So can you tell us about some of your more interesting groups that either you're working with now or you've worked with in the past, just as kind of an example?
Well, I have favorites to talk about.
And some I know you can't. Just for the listeners, I know some of these, it's probably confidential, but the ones that you can.
Yeah. Well, one I love to talk about is two women I met here in Dallas that had met at Texas A&M, and they started a home decor products company called The Citizenry. And it's just been neat to watch these two. One is extremely gifted at marketing, and the other's extremely gifted at product and operations. So it's like the perfect combination of two. But
it's
watching
visionary integrator, right? I mean, that's the role.
But yeah, they're going to be the next Pier 1 imports. Look out! I mean, I really think this is going to be a $1 billion company.
Wow.
They're growing at a point now. They're well above $1 million a month revenue, and they're actually looking to raise capital to go open their first stores in a few large cities. So they're at a nice stage of development.
That's cool.
And then I already mentioned Door. Most of my investments are technology. Only a few are like retail concepts.
And that Citizenry is a retail concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then can you mention? Can we talk about Craig at all?
Yeah, why
in
not?
Your office?
He loves being talked about.
So David introduced me to the CEO of You Are Comped, and it's I don't know exactly what it does, but it takes all the comp plans of casinos and such, and Lanier and I were talking about casinos on the way here, and kind of puts them under one umbrella. But we went to a casino in Shreveport.
Yeah.
And we had a dealer.
It's the garden spot of the South.
And this is no joke, we had a dealer for blackjack that couldn't count to 21.
Really? Was this at one of the big casinos there?
It was a big casino, and we were betting decent amounts of money, and
Goes to Eureka. I mean, your comp goes the full extent. I don't think they want to be advertised this way. But yeah, he found the perfect table with the dealer that couldn't count, and we actually made money that night and got a free room to book.
This was in your favor.
she would hit 21, and we would all be out, and she'd go, "Dealer busted." She'd pick up the cards and pay us. And
that's incredible. Are you sure she wasn't just feeling sorry for you that night or something?
I assure you, it was a counting issue. It was anyways. So You Are Comped is they're doing well.
They are currently scaling up real nicely. They are building a sales force. I think they've grown it now to 6 people on the sales force, and they plan to grow it to 60 over time. But what they do is they're able to use social media and stuff to go find comp-worthy gamers who prove their value by showing offers that they've received in the mail or whatever. They just upload offers that they've received that can be validated. And then You Are Comp can take that to, say, a cruise ship line and get them a free cruise based on proof of the kind of offers they're getting, which are given because they've gone and lost a lot of money in a casino.
Because they paid for that cruise 50 times over.
Steve, do they have your name yet?
No, they do not have my name. I won because she couldn't count.
I get these offers from MGM Grand in Vegas for like a free shrimp cocktail. I bring it to Craig. I'm like, "What can I get with this?" He's like, "You can get like a raft behind the cruise ship."
Right? Yeah. You can get a job on the cruise ship. So I've got a good question that would, I think, help some of the folks that listen to our show. So you analyze companies so people come to you for money.
Yep.
They also come to you for help or mentorship or introductions or whatever other things you do. But people come to you and they pitch you, either on an official pitch day, or they get introduced to you, or you reach out to them and they come to you and they tell you their story. So as an entrepreneur, if I'm looking for venture capital, and you're in the kind of the super startup stage, or what stage of venture are you focused on?
Seed stage, so very early on.
Okay, perfect.
Kind of at the point where the product is at what we call minimum valuable product, MVP,
right?
And where the first customers are beginning to test or evaluate the product.
Okay, so I assume there's some big wins and a ton of misses on seed stuff, if I'm correct.
I'm hopeful that everyone will make it, but the sad fact is, I guess it's just like sperm or something. It's
That's one way to put it.
You wanted to go there, right?
I told him to be vulnerable, folks. So here we go. So one.
They all have promise, but only a handful are going to really make the big win and return the big money.
10,000 go after it, one gets it. Okay, so I'm coming to you for venture capital. You're not going to give it to me, but I come to you for venture capital. What's super important? Like when somebody needs that seed money, and again, this isn't a proven concept. I'm not generating much, maybe zero revenue, but if I'm generating any, it's certainly not paying, my salary and not paying our overhead. So what's super important to you? I mean, just tell us what you look for.
So for the incoming for us means around 500 things a year that come our way.
Wow.
It really needs to come through a referral from one of our mentors or from one of the companies we've invested in, ideally, or one of our investors. So kind of referrals, direct, warm referrals from those sources.
Okay.
So I'd say for entrepreneurs, meeting somebody and having a relationship, knowing our network and coming through a relationship in that network really helps get above the noise floor. Because we have a lot of stuff just come right in the door, and it's really hard to sift and sort. But when it comes from a direct referral from somebody that actually knows the entrepreneur, has met and at least had a conversation with them, it's at least been pre-vetted for being something that might be a fit in what we do. And what we do is tech innovation for the retail industry. So our tagline is like, we help the retail industry combat in the age of Amazon.
Yeah.
How can they survive and not be killed by Amazon?
Tough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the guys that works.
A lot of blood on the ground now.
One of the guys that works in my forum is most of his business is through Amazon. So he does just the opposite, or he doesn't compete with them. He plays that game, and it's a tough game because you never know when Amazon changes the rules, right? Because you're playing that game, but.
And it's funny, I'm going out to meet some VCs in West Coast next week, and I can't get a response from any of them just reaching out to them. I have to come in through.
You have to go through
a reference, right?
Right.
To get so the first thing is find a way in where you can be a warm referral and not a cold call. The second is really understand the funder, because in our case we're doing seed stage investing in technology as applied to retail. So if you come to me with, some new pacemaker device for heart surgery, it's not going to make any sense. So you need to kind of profile the investor and what they invest in.
Yeah, and what they know.
And even further, if it's, looking at a firm that has multiple partners, look for that partner that has the most relevant experience. Maybe they invested in a company that's, competitive with what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
Or complementary, probably complementary, not competitive.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm listening intently, thinking about my next question. So when an entrepreneur starts, and look, there's a lot of ways to start a company. Some people get thrown into it. There's sometimes it's luck, sometimes a client. I know a lot of guys they were at a company and their client said, "Hey man, why don't you go do this?" Or they spin off from a company because they can third party it for that company for less. So there's a lot of different ways to start up. But as a seed startup, especially in a technology driven world, I would imagine that most of the time they write a business plan, they Google, good business plan, and then write that. So they've got the business plan, they've got their product or service, and their product is hopefully, tangible at that point, or it's through most of the development stage. And then they come to you and they have all these projections, right? They've got all their financial projections put together in a nice book, and usually it's like a little pitch book. So
yeah,
I do the same thing when I'm buying an office building, right? I run all the projections, I run the financial models and whatnot. And they're never those financial models never show you going out of business.
No,
at least mine didn't.
No, they show your revenue is going to ramp to $100 million within 5 years.
Yeah, right.
There's a very definite hockey stick.
And as a matter of fact, probably most of those, unless they're seasoned guys, most of those revenues don't even show where they're like burning, and they're in the red, or if they're in the red, they're not in the red for very long. So they're always optimistic. And so what I've seen is the worst case scenario one, you still make money in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. Maybe not much, but and then the medium one that they show you that's like, hey, this is the medium one. We can do this. That's kicking ass and really making good, a good return for you in your venture stage. And then their high level, expectations are just blowing it out the box, and everybody has a jet that invested in them after that turns back. Is that similar to what you've seen?
Yeah, but that's not how I look at things.
Okay.
How I look at them is this an idea that provides value of at least 10 times the value for 1/10 the price of the competitive offerings out there today? So it's got to be 10 times the value for 1/10 the price.
Wow.
Or something like that. That's what you call disruption.
Yeah.
And then the second piece is, does this entrepreneur have any evidence that they have experience that is going to enable them to pull this off? And then the third piece is, what are the unit economics of this? I don't really care about the 5-year plan. It's going to show you're skyrocketing to 100 million revenue within 5 years every time.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I care about the unit economics. Like, what does one deal look like?
But all the ones you've invested in have done that, right? They exactly performed as the entrepreneur pitched you they would perform.
Well, the citizenry has, but I can't think of any others.
That's awesome.
The
Good
citizenry,
for the citizen.
Whatever their plan is, they've hit like 98% of plan every year.
So shout out to those ladies.
So yeah, they're either that or they're just sandbaggers.
Yeah, right. That's cool. Okay, I got another question on that. And then I want to get into, we got a little bit of time left. I want to get into some of your stuff, but if somebody comes in with a product, and I don't want, I'm not saying it's a crap product or a crappy service. It's a product and service, and are you more focused on the integrity, ability, that the actual person, that entrepreneur that has that, is that more important to you than the product or service? Or
absolutely, yes.
It's the person.
Yes.
Really?
I always say I'd rather back an excellent entrepreneur with a good idea than a good entrepreneur with an excellent idea. Absolutely. But then there's a second piece, which is the look in the mirror part, is, do I really think both myself and my network at Revtech can really add value beyond just writing a check here?
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes the answer is no.
That's good. So, I mean, the takeaway from that for me is, and I've always said this, I've said it on the show several times, not only should not everyone be an entrepreneur, but and it's got a really cool buzz now, and all the the young generation wants to own their own company and do the co-working space and start their own business and whatever, but directly it's the sexiest thing you could ever do is go out and be an entrepreneur, right? Oh yeah.
It's nothing but the high life and penthouses and Gulfstream jets.
Goodness.
From day one.
Smooth ride, man. Yeah. The projections went exactly the way I wrote them down. So, but I mean, the truth of the matter is there's a very small percentage of people that really should. And I think it's important that people look in the mirror and go, do I really have what it takes? Do I have the discipline? Do I have the organizational skills, or can I find people that accentuate my negatives, if you will, and can help me take that ride? And what's my unique ability? Like, truly, what's my unique ability? And does that unique ability reflect somebody that owns a business and starts a business and runs a successful business? I mean, again, you don't have to run it for long, right? I mean, a good CEO, or a good founder, I should say, knows when to fire themselves and hire the CEO that can take it. You know, they couldn't get it. They couldn't get it from 0 to 10 million, but the founder might not be the one that can take it from 10 million to 50 million. So that's a good. But to really look in the mirror and go, is this really like something I'm just screwing around with and I really can't do it, or can I do it? And I think it's important for people to ask that before they jump in.
Yeah, what you said is spot on. Back in the 90s, when I was an entrepreneur building my first company, me and two partners, you know, we had exactly the right ingredients from going from 0 to 20 million, but from going from 20 million to 200, oh hell no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's tough, and I think that we talk about knowers versus learners, and I mean that takes the person that's willing to be humble enough to go, man, this was a good ride, and now I need somebody that can take the next step. And I know that there's a lot of people whose businesses have either gone under or suffered, or certainly not grown as much because they're just not willing to give up that, either because of ego or power, or they don't have the knowledge to give that up, or whatever. So
yep, entrepreneurs have this special genetic defect that they're wired with extra optimism.
Yeah, we have to be.
and it's the only reason a startup ever gets founded, because if you ever knew what pain and hardship and travail you were going to go through for several years, you would never do it. You would just never do it.
So I tell people, especially in the real estate business, that have talked about starting their own firms, it's like, so 2.5 days a week, if you asked me if I would have done this, I would say no. I would have stayed where I was at and grown within that company. And the other 2.5 days, I say, hell yeah, I would have never stayed at that company. But you're right. I mean, it is not super fun and super easy all the time. But it does. I mean, it's different. It's a ride, that's for sure. So tell us, we got a few minutes left. So tell us some of your, talk about some of your ups and downs, some of the things that you learned, some of your ride. Anything specific?
As an entrepreneur, as an investor?
No, entrepreneur. Let's go back to, I mean, you're an entrepreneur now. You're investing, but you started Revtech, and I see what you do on a daily basis with the activities and the hiring and that kind of stuff. So you're still doing that, but you just happen to be investing in companies. But back in some of your earlier entrepreneurial days, like where'd you fall flat on your face? Where'd you go through the roof rocket wise? What was exciting, terrible?
Well, I have a lifetime of stories just from the first company in telecom.
Yeah.
We started it in the recession of 91. Our funding was the money I got from a stolen car. My Mustang was stolen, and I got a $9,000 check, and voila.
God, I love that.
That was our startup capital.
I love that.
And but
Casey
what we
Kronbach,
did,
you got to listen to this show. Go ahead.
But what we did is we went and shopped at the bankruptcy auction of a competitor, and we were able to buy about $250,000 worth of sound and lighting and audio and screens equipment, and we were in business overnight. And so that was very smart seed capital. How you make $9,000, get you $250,000.
Yeah.
And we were in business, and that company scaled rapidly, but it was brute force. It was a services company. We produced product launch events, users conferences, things like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of trade show conventions, events like that all over the country. And we scaled up to 20 million within 5 years. So it was a very fast ride up. And I was feeling pretty good at 20 million because my stock, I owned about 25% of the company, and it was worth $15-20 million at that point. And I just felt great. But then we realized we were at the extent of our capacity, and we recruited in a leader from one of our biggest customers, a big software company, who knew nothing about running a startup company, but had such a big ego that, he thought I could do anything.
Yeah.
And
self-promoter.
And he came in and grew our 20 million plus company to a much smaller number.
Yeah.
And I got out of that thing a year or two later with my first million. I say I made my first million there, but it took about 10,000 hours, so it wasn't a very good hourly wage.
Well, you lost your first 14 million there. If it was worth 15, and you left with 1.
But anyway, that was where I cut my stripes and got going. Then I later did an entrepreneurial venture for Green Mountain Energy that went much better. We went 0 to 20 million, and then there was a fabulous outcome. So
awesome.
I've seen both sides of it, and that one we did in less than 3 years. So
wow,
it was faster.
That's awesome. And so on the first one, how long did that take from start to finish?
7 years from day one to when I sold out my stake.
Yeah. So so on that one, you would have been better working for someone else and putting money into a 401k.
No, because that 7 years I got probably 20 years of experience.
Right. There you go. There you go. So you are an entrepreneur because you're a total optimist. That 7 years of getting hit in the head was worth the pain because you know how to take a hit. Yeah, cool. So and then after your Green Mountain Energy venture, what was that company called?
Green Mountain Dallas.
Green Mountain Dallas. Okay. And
we're a shareholder-backed initiative that we basically figured out an affinity marketing model for Green Mountain to go out to households.
Oh, perfect. So it's more marketing.
Yeah.
And then when was that over?
That was 2003 to 2005, so about 3 years. And we folded it into the company, and then they took it through all their markets.
Wow, that's great. So that was the good.
We figured out the cookie cutter, and then we gave it to them to go make cookies with.
And that was an exit for you there. You didn't.
Yeah, Green Mountain sold in 2010, I think it was, for about $450 million. So it was a terrific outcome for me and for all the other Green Mountain shareholders.
So when Green Mountain took that entity, that was converted into shares for you, or
we
cash?
Already had shares in the company. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was after that? Was that Revtech or?
Trailblazer Capital, which led to Revtech.
Got it. So
So I guess again, the hard marks of figuring out a venture capital fund and then going out on a second run that's been much easier.
I was gonna let you bring that up. That's up to you. So once you had that second exit, that allowed you then to move into the venture piece.
Yes, and then coupled with that was my wife's family were the control shareholders in Michael's Stores, the arts and crafts chain.
Okay. And
that company was taken private in 2006, and me and several selling shareholders, most of them family related, were the first capital in my first fund.
Okay, perfect.
So really, it was the sale of Michael's that enabled me to start my first venture fund.
Okay.
Which, not surprising, I gravitated in toward tech for retail.
Sure. And then your first venture company wasn't unsuccessful, but it needed to come to a conclusion.
Yeah, it's been modestly successful. We had a first fund that returned 3 times capital in less than 3 years, and then we were able to go out and raise a bigger second fund that was about 3 times bigger, and we're still working through that fund. But we haven't returned capital yet in that fund, but I'm optimistic that we will. But
perfect.
And again, I'm an optimist.
And then Revtech was, plus your venture capital company now, was that's just you?
Yes.
No partners?
Yes.
Now, would you take on partners?
I'm 55 now, and I think I really just like putzing around and doing my own thing my own way, so probably not.
Yeah. And if you had,
but I take on mentors, advisors, board members. I mean, I have investors. I have plenty of people with skin in the game around me that hold me to accountability, and that's fine.
So he has accountability, but he doesn't have any partners right now. And so I'll let you have the last. I'll let you have the 2 last. Do you want to ask a question?
Come on, Lanier.
My main question is just kind of how you got to retail. Like, why retail over something else?
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't that jump off at you? Like, tech for retail is like where it's at.
I've never
I never
heard
thought of it. You just had a great idea, and market was there. And
it's where my experience was. Even as a teenager, I worked in restaurant and retail industry. Certainly around my wife's family and their involvement over the years with Michael's, and with a technology e-commerce company called Sterling Commerce. I had a lot of exposure to tech. A lot of stuff I did with my audiovisual company was tech and retail related, like JCPenney was a huge customer. So it's just where my experience was, and just like I look for entrepreneurs that are leveraging their experience to build something great, I'm trying to leverage my experience to do something great. But it was seen as something pretty stupid for the first couple of years because there was a lot of other more sexy things around social media and IoT and cryptocurrency and stuff.
AI, yeah, no deal, yeah.
And so for the first couple of years, it was kind of stupid. Like, why would you pick tech for retail? But then when the Amazon crush came in and we had the retail apocalypse and all this, doom and gloom that physical stores are going away and nobody will ever go in a store ever again, then I started being like prophetic or something.
Right. Yeah, cool. Hey, better to be lucky than, or whatever. So 2 last things, and then we got to wrap.
I don't get to ask you a question, Lemire?
Sure. Go for it. Ask me a question.
Man, what keeps you up at night?
Ooh. What keeps me up at night?
God, you could go so many directions with it.
No, that's not what keeps me up at night. Man, I will tell you what. I think that unfortunately, the entrepreneurialism was a disease for me, and it's a disease that gets worse. So when I started my company, I remember being really focused and just focused on simple things like getting my network up and set and making my sales calls and going on meetings and getting the deals done. And as that experience has grown, I look at so many, and I'm not focused, and that's my big downfall, really. You probably wouldn't invest with me. I'm that squirrel, shiny nickel kind of guy. And Lanier sees this in the office. Like, I'll literally be on 2 phone calls. Yesterday, I had a happy hour with 2 people in the same bar at the same time. And so I would excuse myself and go and then come back. So I think what keeps me up is I've got so many things going on in my brain at once. And it's not, some of it I guess is fear-based, but I got so many things just bouncing in my head that I just can't turn it off. And I wish I could just lay down and go, okay, my day's done. And I can't. So I don't know if you have that problem, but I do.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
I have some very boring CDs that can really put me down.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's so. I used to be able to pray at night, and I'd fall asleep, 2/3 of the way through my prayer. But now I've finished praying, and then I start praying again about the other idea that I'm thinking about chasing the next morning. So, cool. All right. Well, we better wrap it up. David Matthews with Revtech, and thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure. I learn something about you every time. And Lanier,
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I screwed up your name on the air. It's so embarrassing. Maybe they can cut that out. Matt, can you cut that out?
I could do something for you. Maybe. We'll see. It's already been streamed out, so the world knows.
That's all right. I love her anyway.
Maybe introduce me to that blackjack dealer.
There you go.
There you
go. Nice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, brother. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.